Remember the Dualis? Well, Nissan didn't think that car's name was difficult enough to pronounce, so they've reached deep into the bag of Scrabble tiles, hurled them onto the desk and come up with this, the Qashqai. 3 years on from its launch in Australia, the Qashqai is now entering middle age. The segment it plays in is a tremendously crowded one, but despite the stiff competition and the fact that it's no longer a spring chicken, there are still more than a few reasons to consider a Qashqai.
The Qashqai comes with your choice of 2 engines, a 2-litre petrol with 106 kilowatts or a more efficient 96 kilowatt turbo diesel 1.6. Power goes to the front wheels exclusively, so don't be fooled by the SUV styling. This one is better off sticking to the blacktop. Petrol models come with a choice of a manual or auto, but the diesel we're driving today is strictly an auto-only proposition. Our Tester is also the most highly spec'd model in the range, and boasts features like an enormous glass roof, heated seats, faux leather upholstery, satellite navigation, and a big 7-inch colour display, rather than the 5-inch display you get in the entry-level variants. There's also dual-zone climate control, keyless entry and ignition, a power-adjustable driver's seat, LED headlamps, and a top-down camera view. Front and rear parking sensors are also standard, as is blind spot monitoring and lane departure warning. Autonomous emergency braking is not, however, offered, and neither is smartphone mirroring via Android Auto or Apple CarPlay.
The Qashqai is one of Nissan's top sellers, and last year it was actually its 3rd most popular car. It also performs pretty respectably within its own segment, however, with plenty of competition from the CX-3, HR-V, and even the ancient ASX, it still needs to maintain a fairly sharp offering.
An updated model is expected to arrive in early 2018, though Australian specifications and pricing are still to be announced.
From behind the wheel, the Qashqai presents quite well. The cabin's fairly monochromatic with all this black plastic and silver trim, but it's certainly far from offensive thanks to the liberal use of soft-touch plastics. There are a lot of buttons to play with in this high-grade TL model, and this enormous glass roof lets in loads of light. That said, the decor is starting to age a bit. An upcoming facelift will solve some of that, but most of the furniture in here is expected to carry over. The back seat is also quite flat and uncomfortable with no rear air vents for backseat passengers. However, Nissan will probably argue that the slightly larger X-Trail is better suited for those who carry around passengers on a regular basis. On the whole, it's a pretty nice place to be, even though there isn't a lot of visual wow factor.
The Qashqai's diesel is quite refined considering it exists at the lower end of the SUV spectrum, and it marries well with the CVT automatic. For ease of driving as well as ride comfort, the Qashqai scores highly.
But on the flip side, it's not the most urgent powertrain. It's just a bit sluggish to respond to sudden demands for power. No all-wheel drive means it feels lighter on its feet than some other SUVs, but that comes at the sacrifice of grip in slippery conditions. The biggest problem with the Nissan Qashqai is unfortunately the price. The car we're driving here, the fully loaded TL diesel, retails for $39,990, which, I'll be honest, is pretty steep for a small SUV. If you simply must have the extra features of a high-grade Qashqai, you're probably better off going for the $34,490 petrol TI model and pocketing the change.
That said, the Qashqai does a decent job of pretty much anything the average motorist might ask of it, short of going off-road.